what up? Welcome to this video. And today what I want to talk about is how to generate 10 to 16 qualified demos every month for complex products that have an average selling price of at least $20,000 that close at 15% using CEO thought leadership content on LinkedIn. And this is going to be the full guide on exactly how to do it. As an introduction, why we're going to be talking about this, in the new age of efficiency, companies need to find completely new customer acquisition methods to stay competitive. And the truth is, when you're selling complex B2B products to sophisticated buyers, it's all about building trust and credibility. And you build trust and credibility through thought leadership. Prospects who see you as a thought leader buy way faster and close at a higher percentage, and eventually help you drive down your customer acquisition cost. The best place to reach B2B buyers in 2024 is LinkedIn. In conclusion, what that means is you need the way to consistently publish thought leadership content on LinkedIn. Before we dive into exactly how to do this, a couple of case studies and results that we've gotten for people using the approach that I'm going to be breaking down here. Site Improve, number one, they are a B2B SaaS company. They have an average selling price of $100,000 for their solution. We worked here with their CMO, Kevin Bobovsky, and the main result that we were able to drive is 45 sales qualified opportunities in 4 months that we generated for them. There's a video here linked up in the document, which will be on this page too, so you can go through this document on your own time, where Kevin talks about this result and a couple of additional things that happened, because that was not the only thing that we were able to achieve for them. Second one, Comex, B2B SaaS, they're selling a $60,000 euro average selling price solution, mainly into the sales department, head of sales. And here we were able to generate 3 to 4 demo requests every week for their products, starting at month 2 of the engagement. Again, proof, I have a video linked up here with Philip where he talks about that result and a couple of additional things that we're able to find new partners through this program too. So you can have a look at it on your own time. Next one, Safety Wing. They're a B2B tech company. They have a $20,000 ACV solution. And here we were able to generate 90 demos within 10 months. This is purely from the paid side. We also generated results on the organic side. And you can see here, booked demos, 89 in the time range of April 1st until February 1st, 2024. So within 10 months, we booked these 90 demos and we generated, this is a screenshot from their HubSpot, where you build a report on the deals won through this program. And you can see here we have 9 won deals for a total amount of revenue of 180K. Again, this is purely from the ad activities that we were running on top of the organic stuff. And then last but not least, ourselves, Project 33, we're a B2B service. We sell a $50,000 solution, and we pride ourselves in eating our own dog food because we use our own process. This process that I will show here is what we use for ourselves too. Is only our only way how we get customers, and 90% of our customers come as inbound from LinkedIn. We close $50,000 contracts in under 4 weeks because people already know me, they trust me, they've seen my content, and they close very quickly. And we generated, for example, 102K in contract value, initial contract value revenue from one ad alone, and $3,500 in ad spend. In terms of proof, I have it linked up here, the exact way that we did this for ourselves, and kind of the proof here. Here's a screenshot from our Calendly data on where we're booking data. So you can see here, this is just a snapshot from the demos that we booked in January alone. And you can see here, we ask every prospect, how did you hear about us? And you can see that most people here say LinkedIn, Finn's LinkedIn content, Finn's LinkedIn videos, LinkedIn share, LinkedIn. So that's how we get all of our customers. Here's just a couple screenshots on customers that we closed. You can see here, I got an inbound LinkedIn in-mail message from a CEO at a B2B software company saying, interested in your approach. I saw one of your promo vids on my LinkedIn feed. Makes a lot of sense. Are you open to have a call? That was our first call that we had a couple days later. You can see here, July 18th, 2023. So less than a month later from that outreach, we have a fully executed agreement from Fergal for a closed contract. Again, this was a cold prospect. And then here's another one. Mike reached out on July 14th, 2023 with an inbound, sending me a message on LinkedIn and, 2.5 weeks later, we got a signed contract. So that's how things go generally for us, because again, through this process, what you're going to do is not just acquire customer and generate demos. You're going to be building through the thought leadership motion a lot of affinity and trust and credibility with your prospects, and people who see you as a thought leader and have trust and you've built credibility with them, they convert at a much higher rate. They go through the sales process much faster. Their sales cycle is much shorter. So this is not the average deals or demos that we're generating here. All right, who's this document and video for? It's for founders, CEOs, and heads of marketing of B2B software companies who have an average selling price of at least $20,000 selling to sophisticated buyers, generally direct or level up. Now, this process does work for other B2B companies. We've worked with B2B service companies, professional services companies, with consulting houses, with IT houses. It generally works for anyone who has a high ASP and selling to sophisticated buyers. Quick intro, a little bit of information about me. I'm Thormeier. I'm the founder of Project 33. I started this company in 2019. The way that it started is that I dropped out of college, studying physics and philosophy because I was doing it for my parents' expectations, not for myself. And I started building my own personal brand. I now have 28,000 followers on LinkedIn, 12,500 followers on Instagram, 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. This is just to say this is how I fell into this, creating content first just for myself to build my own personal brand. Eventually started getting inbound from people and business owners on LinkedIn who said, hey, this is really cool what you're doing here for yourself. Could you do this for me and I'll pay you money for it? And that's really how I started freelancing and eventually growing the company. And I bootstrapped this agency, Project 33, from 0 to a team of now 10 people using this exact process, right? We eat our own dog food. We practice what we preach. We produce content for ourselves. That's how we get our customers. We test everything on ourselves first, and only once it's working there, we roll it out to customer. We've now worked with over 30 B2B founders and CEOs, and we only do one thing. This is what we do. We're not a marketing agency that dabbles in all kinds of different things and makes you a custom proposal. We do this one thing and we're really good at it, and we keep iterating on it, and that's the only thing that we do. So now let's get into the process on how to actually do this. There's 7 steps to it. You can see them here on the side. I'll go through them one by one, and then at the end, we'll recap it a little bit. So step number 1, technical setup. So this is important because we want to make sure that we are driving pipeline with this activity, not leads and MQLs. It's very important. We're not trying to generate vanity metrics with this program. We want to drive company growth. And so in order to do that, first thing is we need HubSpot or CRM access. Obviously, if you do this yourself, you do have this access anyway. You just want to make sure that you're tracking everything. Make sure Google Analytics is set up. We install self-reported attribution, and we recommend everyone to install self-reported attribution on your conversion form. What that means is, this is a classic demo conversion form for a customer, and you can see here people enter their information, and self-reported attribution is this little highlighted field that just asks people, how did you hear about us? It's a required field. People need to fill it out. It's not a drop-down menu. It's not a pre-written options that you give people. It's a free text field where people can enter whatever they want. That's, for example, exactly how we got this information here, because that's how you know really how you're generating demand and what's working for the customers that you're generating. And no, this does not decrease your conversion rates. There's data and studies out from, for example, companies like Refine Labs that show that adding this extra field on a high ACV, high ASP solution does not decrease your conversion rates. And then lastly, for the tracking, we want to install, again, self-reported attribution, SRA. We want to install the HubSpot website tracking code and connect our ad account there so we see everything in our HubSpot. That's ideally the CRM. If you use another CRM, there's an equivalent for that. We are using UTM parameters on all the ads. And then lastly, we want to install the LinkedIn Insight tag, which is a little piece of code that allows you to track how your ads are performing relative to pipeline metrics. So once that's all set up, and we do this for customers if we work with them, but you can Google around, there's YouTube tutorials on how to set up all of these things. It's just really important that we do it upfront. Step number 1, pick the most suited subject matter expert, SME, or thought leader in the company. And now it turns out you actually need a thought leader to build thought leadership. Who knew? Thought leader is the top 1% of domain experts. It's really, really important. This is where most companies fail, and this is why most companies cannot run this program, because most companies are not thought leaders, or most companies do not have a thought leader in-house that deeply understands the space and who is the top 1% of the domain experts in their field, right? So you need this for this program to work. Usually that's the founder and CEO. Sometimes it's someone else in the company. Whoever can become the number one resource to your prospects can do this. Now, sometimes it might make sense to do it with multiple executives at your company. We've done this before for customers where it's both the CEO and the CTO. Sometimes it's your head of product. It really depends, but you need an actual thought leader. Most of the time, 80%, that's the founder and CEO. Step number 2, develop content framework that drives demand. Now, we focus on 2 main content pillars: product and thought leadership. Product is really like, what are the main pain points that your product or service is solving, and then have your thought leader, your subject matter expert, speak to each of them and how your product solves it. This is what creates demand. The second one is thought leadership. What topics do your customers care about? You need to map out what are their big priorities, what are their big pain points, what are their key metrics that they want to drive in their business, what are their biggest desires, and then once you map that out, you need to have your thought leader, your subject matter expert within your company speak to those things, share their perspective, key lessons and insights to build trust and credibility with prospects, with target accounts at scale. Now, we do sprinkle in some company and personal content to build rapport. We developed a questionnaire here that I've linked up in this document, how we extract a lot of this information from customers when we work with them. So feel free to use that if you want to run it yourself. And then here is an example of what the breakdown of the content pillars might look like, right? So you see here by category, we have 4 core categories: product, thought leadership, company, and personal. You can see here the percentage breakdown of the amount of content per category, 40, 40, 10, 10, right? So big focus on these 2. This might shift over time. After we mapped out a lot of the pain points for a product, this might shift to 20% and this to 60%. And then here we have sub-pillars, subtopics. These are themes that we want to hit on. These are custom per company and subject matter expert, right? We develop these when we work with customers. We have a framework on how we develop them, but you need the key themes that you want to hit over and over and over and over again. Why? Because 1, it makes the content ideation process a lot faster and a lot more streamlined, and you need to streamline this to make it work and efficient. And 2, it makes sure that you're focused on the core, most important topics that you need to be talking about. And yes, you do need to repeat yourself a lot. I've also linked up here the question log template that we use with customers, where we map out questions and topics, we map out the categories, and we define the ICPs in here. Step number 3 is to build the content engine that allows you then to easily and effortlessly churn out content to post weekly, multiple times a week on your thought leader's LinkedIn profile. So I've linked up here the tech stack that we use, both the hardware for the recording and the software that we use to produce content. So it's all in here if you want it. The trick here is to create a programmatic approach that's low touch on the SME. And we've developed this, and we believe this is the absolute best way to do it, which is you ideate questions around your content pillars that you've developed here, about your company, about your product, about your expertise. Each question, the answer to that question is 1 piece of content. And then the way to extract it from your CEO or your founder or your executive, the thought leader at your company, is through an interview, right? Because they're busy, they have lots of things to do, they have a company to run, they have a team to manage, they don't have time to spend hours every day writing LinkedIn posts and producing videos and editing stuff, right? So you need to make it easy for them. And the way to make it easy for them is to prepare questions for them. Someone needs to prepare these questions. Again, we do this for customers, but it needs to be someone on your team who is not a junior person. Don't delegate this to your junior social media hire or to your content specialist. Why? Because the questions, the quality of the questions will define the quality of the content. And if the questions are not good, the content will not be good. And so you need someone who actually understands your industry, your market, your customers, your product, the thought leader and subject matter expert that they're going to be interviewing deeply. And so the way to do it is you do a weekly interview. You always do it on the same day at the same time, right? So you put a 1-hour blog on your subject matter expert's calendar every Wednesday at 2 p.m. And then at that time, they are being interviewed and they're producing content. You do 4 to 5 questions per interview. We found that's kind of the sweet spot. We use Riverside to record it, so you can do it remotely using, again, the tech stack that are linked up here. That it's similar to Zoom. It allows you to get the full resolution of your camera. It allows you to get podcast quality audio and get really high production quality stuff remotely. I linked up here our checklist and guidelines that we use for the recording sessions and these interviews. Again, this is what we use internally. Feel free to use it or not use it. You record this interview and then you transcribe it afterwards using something like Otter.ai. And then from there, you produce bite-sized video, text, and image posts that you turn into LinkedIn content, right? You have a 1-hour interview once a week where you answer 4 to 5 questions about your company, product, and expertise of the thought leader. And then from there, you can create the content. I've linked up here a couple of content examples that we've produced for customers that you can find here, things that performed well. For the copywriting, because you now have the actual words of your thought leader, production of the content can be done by someone else. The thing that makes or breaks this is you need a thought leader who has actual insights that are relevant to your sophisticated buyers. But because you now interviewed them, you have their insights, you extracted their knowledge, and now someone else on your team can package it, right? Someone else can do the editing, someone else can create the thumbnails, someone else can do the copywriting, right? Because you have their word by word expertise. So I've linked up here a couple of resources. These are our internal copywriting guidelines. This is what we use to train our copywriters on how to write copy for customers. I've linked up here a couple hook examples that work well on LinkedIn. For the video editing, again, I've linked up our internal video guidelines that we use to train our video editors on how to do this well. Feel free to use this with your own internal team. And then you repeat this interview weekly or bi-weekly. And you end up creating 8 to 20 posts a month, which is 2 to 5 per week, which is that's the sweet spot. You might want to start with 2 and then eventually wrap up to 5. Per thought leader, you might want to add multiple thought leaders to this, repeating this weekly or bi-weekly interview for 2 to 5 pieces of content per week every month. And now you have a machine, you have an engine, you have a repeatable process that allows you to produce thought leadership content on a weekly basis that's low touch and low effort for your actual thought leaders. And now, because you're posting on your thought leader's personal profile, you're now testing messages and ideas and creatives, and you're getting feedback from the market. So now we want to distribute, right? LinkedIn is by far the most important platform for us in this case. Why? Because that's where B2B buyers spend their day, network, and learn about new trends and products. And we want to organically insert ourselves in the conversations that they are already having by sharing our insights. And then we want to repurpose this content, for example, on a YouTube channel. So you have a video library of all the video content, in a monthly email newsletter. So you add touch points with prospects who are already on your list, who are already in pipeline. You can add it to your website to build SEO. And there's other ways you can turn it into YouTube shorts, TikToks, podcasts. These are all kind of ideas that depend on your company, on your audience and where they are. But number one priority is LinkedIn here. And then you can think about what we do for all customers is we create a content library. I've added our template here. We use Notion for that. This allows you to have a repository of all the content that you've produced, and you can add your team to it, and you can easily search and find and filter. And you can see here a screenshot of a customer where you can see the number, the title, what category it falls into, when it was published, and all the links to the LinkedIn, to the YouTube, to the video file, to the text file, etc., etc. And then very important, you can't just publish on LinkedIn, right? You can't just have your founder publish 2 or 3 or 5 times a week and that's it. For this program to work, they need to allocate some amount of time, and it is not a lot, 20 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, to engage with buyers and partners and maybe investors on LinkedIn, which means answer every comment and DM that your content generates, because if this content is working, you will get comments and follow-up questions and messages from people, and they need to be answered same day, maybe next day, because otherwise people will stop commenting and this will not work. You can build a custom Sales Navigator feed. We have some tutorials on our website on how to do that. That allows you to streamline this. We built this for customers, so it allows you to spend your time efficiently on LinkedIn to actually only engage with people people who are relevant to you, not some, random person from India who went viral, but people who can potentially become customers in the future. And then you want to engage with 3 to 10 other thought leaders in your space per day. So whatever space you're in, B2B sales, government contracts, MarTech software, whatever space you're in, find other people who already have an audience on LinkedIn and publishing content around these themes and engage with your content and share your own 2 cents. It's very important. If you don't do this, none of the content will work. Step number 5, now that we have an engine and we're posting weekly and we're seeing what resonates, and we do this for a couple weeks, next step is to analyze what actually resonates and determine best performers so we can then double down on what works. So we use a software called Shield for this. There's some competitors out there, which allows you to analyze your content, your LinkedIn metrics, and we score each piece of content by one main metric. We call it total weighted engagements, which is basically just you add the likes, the comments, and the shares that each post got together. You weigh them. A like counts once, a comment counts twice, a share counts 4 times because they're more valuable. You add it all together, you get one number per post. Short version, the higher the number, the better, the lower the number, the worse, right? And so we have a technical definition of what makes a best performer, and that's any post with a total weighted engagement that's greater than at least 1 standard deviation above the average for that data set, for your average of your content. You can use other thresholds, you can use subjective feelings, but basically what you'll find is that there is a power law with your content. Let's say you publish in your first month 20 pieces of content, right? Monday through Friday, 5 times a week for 4 weeks, you have 20 posts. Out of those 20 posts, probably 2 or 3 will make up for 80% of the performance, for 80% of the engagement, the likes, the comments, the messages, connection requests that you're getting. Those are your winners. Those are your best performers. Those you need to further leverage because views and engagement rate are unreliable. There's reasons for that. You can use your own scoring system. Just make sure it's consistent across all the pieces of content. Here's some examples of things that we realized for customers as we started talking. For Site Improve that I mentioned earlier, we realized that the topic of turning marketing from a cost center into a revenue center, that angle, that message, that idea, that concept really resonated. So we doubled down on it and we just kept talking about it. Tweak and repeat, tweak and repeat. Once you find something that's actually winning, but only once it's winning, you need to tweak and repeat. You need to create derivative content on it. You can create subtopics of it. You can create follow-ups on it. You can create other examples on it. So we ideated a lot more content around that idea message. For Shoreline, for example, we realized that the topic of lessons from AWS always overperformed. So we made sure to create a new piece around that same theme every week. Here we work with Anurag Gupta, who is the founder and CEO at Shoreline. And he was previously a VP at AWS and worked very closely with a lot of the senior leaders there. And so we just naturally shared some lessons of his tenure at AWS, and they always crushed it. You can see here an example of a post that got 665 likes, 73 comments, 51 shares, where he talks about lessons on how he saved $400 million in 1 year at AWS. So we just made it a theme. Every week we shared a new lesson, and they always perform, right? For us, for example, we realized that the topic around what I would do as a new head of marketing resonated. You can see the screenshot here, 100 plus likes. It generated a lot of interest, a lot of connection requests. Once we ran it as an ad, we generated multiple customers from this. So once we saw that, we created derivative content around the same topic. Text posts talking about the same thing. Carousels talking about the same thing. Short form videos talking about the same thing. Repurpose it as an ad talking about the same thing, right? Once you have a winner, you need to double down, you need to leverage it, and you need to tweak and repeat. Now, step number 6, once you've determined who your best performers and your winners are, you need to feed them into targeted LinkedIn ad campaigns. Now, right now we have an organic motion to post on our thought leaders' personal LinkedIn profile. And that's great because we get to experiment, we get to build an audience, we get to build organic traction, and we get to test messages to see what resonates. Once we found what resonates, we want to make sure that we amplify the distribution. And what LinkedIn Ads allows you to do is you can very surgically define who exactly you want each piece of content to see and guarantee distribution. You're paying for the distribution, right? So it's super powerful in B2B. So the way that we do it, number one, our objective here is in-feed consumption of the content, right? because we validated the message and we now want the key decision makers at our target accounts to consume that content so that we're educating them around our perspective, around our offer, around our expertise, around what we do, how we do it, why we're qualified to do it, etc., etc., etc. We want them to understand these things. We want to educate them. So step number one is we set up all of the relevant conversion events. This is why the LinkedIn Insight tag and the technical setup is so important, where we track all of the performance conversions. We then run it towards 3 cold targeting groups. The first one is targeting ICPs based on job titles, geography, and company size for a top-down approach. So this is the decision makers and budget holders at your accounts. The second one is a broader ICP based on job function and department for bottom-up approach. So for example, for the first one, for us, that's any founder, CEO, head of marketing at a software business with 10 to 100 employees. That's who we want to target. Then we also have a bottom-up approach where we want to drive organizational alignment and find champions for what we do who might send this to their executive or send this to their boss. So for us, this is anyone in the marketing, sales, or biz dev department of a software business with a 10 to 100 employees. Now, this is a broader audience. This is lower CPMs. It's not always the decision maker, but it's going to help us get that organizational alignment. And because we're running the first one, we're guaranteeing that the budget holder still gets to see our messages. And then the third one is an ABM or account level targeting, where we create a list of 52,000 hand-picked target accounts who are our dream customers, and we're going to run them towards them, which is a really surgical approach. And then once we have these 3 cold targeting groups set up, we're going to set up a retargeting layer where we retarget any website visitor, any LinkedIn company page visitor, and anyone who engaged with the ads in the cold layer. So 50% video viewers, image clickers, etc. The LinkedIn campaign objective is engagement. The CTA is learn more, right? Because we're selling complex solutions that people don't impulse buy. The landing page, generally speaking, is your website homepage, not an isolated landing page, not a lead gen form, not a demo booking page. Why? Because we want to drive high intent demo requests only, not leads. And by sending people to a homepage or a product page, if we have multiple products, or a persona page if we have multiple personas, rather than a lead gen form or call booking page, we only get people who are really interested. For example, if we go back here to our proof, here this deal, right? Fergal, he said, I saw one of your promo vids, your FLM approach makes a lot of sense. This ad was sent to our homepage and he read through the homepage and it made sense to him and he understood where we're coming from and what our approach is and what our expertise is. And he even used our acronym FLM, which stands for founder-led marketing, which is what we call what we do, in his message, right? So you could tell that he was really bought into what we do because he didn't just click an ad and fill in his information. He clicked an ad and then informed himself about what we do. And then for tracking conversions, we use a combination of the LinkedIn Insight tag, UTM parameters, and self-reported attribution that we all installed in the setup. Here's some screenshots, right? Project 33 ads, $21,000 in ads, booked demos. We can see here that we booked 89 demos. This is for a $20,000 product, super profitable for them right now. Here's another example here, 5,000 in ad spend. You can see here a couple of the conversions, demos, trial, and different trial signups for different products that they have. They have a hybrid motion of PLG and sales led. They're selling into both SMBs and the enterprise. So for the SMBs, it's the trials. For the demo requests, it's the enterprise accounts that they're selling into, which is what we're focusing on with these ads. But obviously still some people will sign up for a trial and they sell a super high ACV solutions selling into government contractors, companies like Boeing and Airbus and Lockheed Martin. So right now, this is also super profitable. So there's some examples of what this might look like and how you can attribute it to pipeline and revenue in dollars. Step number 7, leverage messaging with SDRs. Now, besides the direct traction of the content from both the organic and the paid that we're generating, it turns out that it becomes a marketing and sales enablement tool. For example, here's how some of our customers leveraged it. So the BDRs at Site Improve, was mentioned above, would consume each piece of content by our subject matter expert, Kevin, and test that messaging in their sales calls. And it turns out it really worked. Because the content came from a CMO and they sell to CMOs, it really helped their sales team find resonance in real time and speak to the prospects' pain points and the trends that are currently happening in the market more directly, and it helped them close more deals at a higher win rate. Another example is the SDRs at ComX had access to Philip's content library that we created for them with all the content and used his best performing content in their cold outreach and follow-up campaigns to build more trust and answer key questions and objections that they would get from prospects. Another example, the marketing team at Safety Wing used a lot of Lona's, who was our SME at this company, a lot of Lona's videos in their their website for hiring purposes. And then last example here for us, we use all of our videos on our website resources page where we embed them to build SEO. And we're currently ranking on page 1 for terms like 7-hour rule, LinkedIn hooks, and founder-led marketing, which is what we call what we do, right? So when you go here, you see all of our content is being embedded here, and it gets its own subpage. It's embedded. The copy is also in here. So we have text for everything. And that's some examples of how you can further leverage once you've figured out what messages resonate and what your best performing winning creatives are. There's many other things. Some customers use the content in pre-rolls and webinars that they do. Some use them on Twitter where they have an audience. Some use them in Facebook ads that they run separately for certain other goals, maybe a hiring funnel. So there's many ways. That's why we built the content library. And this is how this becomes an organizational approach. It's not just one channel where you have one thought leader posting a little bit of content on LinkedIn. It really becomes a machine that helps you inform what are the messages that our buyers care about right now in real time. And then besides all the demand and demos and customers that you're generating from the organic and the paid side, building that thought leadership for your company, you now have all this content that you can leverage in many other ways with your sales and marketing team. So quick recap of the process. Step 1, step 0, technical setup. Step 1, pick the most suited thought leader in your company. Develop the content framework that drives demand, focusing on product and thought leadership content. Then build the content engine to post weekly on LinkedIn using an interview format to make it easy and time efficient on your thought leader. Distribute it in the right places to reach buyers. Number 1, LinkedIn, and then there's many ways where you might want to repurpose. Very important, engage with buyers and other thought leaders in your space every single day. Determine the best performers and double down on what works. Feed the best performers into targeted LinkedIn ad campaign to scale the distribution and really drive results. And then leverage the messaging that's winning with your SDRs, BDRs, and your marketing team. And that's how you book 10 to 16 qualified demos every month for complex products that close at a high win rate. Again, couple proof points here. Sign and proof B2B SaaS. We generated 45 SQOs in 4 months for the 100K product using this process. For ComX, also B2B SaaS, we generated 3 to 4 demo requests every week for their 60K euro product. For Safety Wing, B2B tech company in the insurtech space, we booked 90 demos in 10 months that turned into 9 customers and generated 178K revenue from $21,000 in ad spend. And for us, we get 90% of inbound from LinkedIn. We closed $50,000 deals in under 4 weeks. And as an example, we generated 102K revenue from one LinkedIn ad alone. This is all using this exact framework. Now, lastly, next steps. If you want us to do this for you, right? You can do this yourselves. That's why we put this out there. You need to be in B2B and have an average selling price of $20,000. You need to deeply understand your space and industry. You need to be a thought leader, and we're going to be qualifying for that, because if you're not, this is not going to work. You need to have weekly interactions with customers and prospects, and you need to be willing to make this a priority and spend at least 20 to 30 days on LinkedIn, engaging with buyers, answering comments, and making this successful. If yes, then we will develop your content framework for you. We will build your content engine. We will flesh out the topics that will resonate with buyers. Our team will run the interviewing your SME every week remotely. We edit all your videos and write your copies using our frameworks. We distribute and publish for you. We manage your LinkedIn ads and optimize them, track. We're inside your CRM and building reports around pipeline goals that we're generating through this. And we consult your team on how to fully and further leverage winning messages. Again, your sales team, your outbound, your hiring processes, and we run the iteration process to take the lessons, build the report, feed it back into what topics are we talking about to continuously improve. If you're interested, you can book a call either on this website or in this document, and I'm happy to have a chat and we can explore whether this process and framework might make sense for your company. Thank you so much for your time.